Hello, my name is Oluwatimi Osha. I like talking about American presidents, and John Adams, our second president, is one of my favorite presidents, but he's not often given as much credit as he deserves. The United States was able to get its independence from England because of its funding, its access to resources. England, of course, was the strongest power in the world at that time. We had the strongest navy. It was, the what America is today, having the strongest military in the world. That's what England had. So John Adams would travel, he would survive a death voyage across the Atlantic. That's what it was back then because, the primitive ships, that they had back then. This was, I think, before steam. And, in fact, the era of steamboats was also a deadly, steamboats could explode on you. But, the shipping at that time was still rather straight out of the ark, right? So John Adams would make those voyages across the Atlantic and even travel on foot when he got to continental Europe because of his impatience. There was a time when his ship was damaged and so he couldn't sail, but he was impatient and rather than wait for the ship to be repaired, he decided to continue his travel by land. He did a lot of the traveling on foot and on mule. He traveled hundreds of miles across the Pyrenees Mountains, the notorious Pyrenees Mountains in winter. And he took his sons with him, John Quincy Adams and Charles. Of course, John Adams was a very hardy man, and we owe a lot to his doggedness, his determination, his resilience, and foresight. So he was also able to travel to Holland and secure loans in 1780, which was very critical. Holland actually gave the US as much as 5 million guilders. That's converted, that's roughly $2 million back then. In all, it was able to, the US was able to get about 30.5 million guilders. So that's over, maybe between 12 and $15 million from the Dutch, which was a lot at that time because we needed it to pay for our army. Of course, we depended a lot. We had a ragtag army. We didn't really have the skilled officers of the Europeans. Europeans were used to fighting wars for centuries. They had very skilled military. By the way, the aristocracy, right? The aristocrats in Europe, like in England, when they say earls, barons, lords, all those are people who were actually leaders. They acquired those titles from having been leaders of military units, leaders of, they were able to summon armies. That's how they acquired those titles. So they had this long 1,000-year history, right, of training officers, and so America had to rely on foreign mercenaries, foreign officers who were uh, trying to get one back on the British, right? And so that's sort of what Holland was doing, right, against the Brits. So the money that Holland gave John Adams on behalf of the United States, it was in secret, right? Holland couldn't be open about it, otherwise England would have gone to war with them. So a lot of the European support America was getting initially was secret. The French as well, the French king was giving America a lot of loans secretly. So of course, Holland would go on to recognize the independence of the United States in April 1782, which was a spectacular victory as John Adams saw it. And so he was minister to Holland. He did a great deal. And as I said, he took his sons, John Quincy Adams, with him. John Quincy, of course, would learn Dutch. Dutch, that's one of the languages that he can speak. John Quincy Adams is um, our most polyglotic, leader, right? He's I think he speaks at least he's not alive today. He spoke at least languages, 7 to 8 languages, right, including Latin, Greek, Dutch, German, uh, um, Spanish. He spoke French. He spoke Russian. He was fluent. He could read and write Russian. I think he's still our only president. That's John Quincy Adams, the son of John Adams. John Quincy Adams was our sixth president. He's still the only president who could write and speak French fluently. Sorry, not French. Several of our presidents could speak French, including Thomas Jefferson. Um, Russian. I meant Russian. John Quincy Adams remains our only president who could speak and write Russian fluently. So John Adams was able to secure very significant, crucial loans from the Dutch, although they were secret at the time. It was a lot, and the loans went to pay for our foreign officers. It funded our recruitment, our hiring of foreign officers who helped us in the war against the Brits. And I guess it was a way for the Dutch to have one back against the Brits for seizing New York in 1664. Of course, it wasn't called New York then. It was called New Amsterdam, which was, New Netherlands. That was actually a colony of the Dutch. It was founded by the Dutch. So even till today, a lot of sites, counties have Dutch names. The boroughs like Harlem. Harlem is Dutch, right? Um, I remember, since I'm a graduate of Columbia University, there was a famous street, Amsterdam, right? I think part of the street right behind my school was Amsterdam. Along one of the streets, within the campus terrain, Amsterdam Street. Um, so yeah, the the Dutch, they converted the name to New York in 1664 in honor of King James II. Of course, he wasn't known as King James II then. That's the English king. He was the brother. He was Duke of York at the time. His brother was king. His brother, King Charles II, and after his death, James II became king. So the name was changed to New York in his honor. In any event, I just wanted to talk about the significance of the Dutch. And of course, New York gave us the stock market, the stock exchange, the New York Stock Exchange, which is still the most vibrant, the most robust, the most heavily capitalized in the world to this day. $50 trillion in market capitalization, and two-thirds of the world's investable equities. So it's still very liquid. It's the most well regulated, right? It's just because of our history. We've had these busts and the Great Depressions and the blowback from from each depression we've had. It's led to greater guardrails and security. Um, in However, I also wanted to mention that it's interesting that the largest Ponzi scheme in the world also came out of New York. Bernie Madoff was a former chairman of Nasdaq. Nasdaq is known for trading in electronic stocks, right? Of electronic companies, technology companies. That's the exchange for technology companies. The New York Stock Exchange, um, that's big. That's synonymous with the Dow Jones. The Dow Jones today it trades over 40,000 points. So there's a way that it's traded, right? I'm not going to get into that, but I remember when I first came to the U.S. in the '90s, late '90s, the Dow Jones was well under 9,000, under 9,000, under 8,000, and they were thinking it would be a big deal to one day get to 10,000. Today it's over 40,000 again. The stock market is also driven by a lot of sentiment, investor sentiment, speculation, and exuberance, right? It doesn't necessarily really reflect real value, right? Real value, but it's just it's got embedded in it, ingrained a lot of bias and sentiment, right? In any event, I just wanted to talk about the significance of John Adams and how he was able to secure uh, important loans from the Dutch uh, around in 1780, and this was crucial to the United States winning the War of Independence against Britain. My name is Olurotimi Osha, and I'll keep you posted. Thank you.